I'm very excited to be here, not only because this incredible panel, but personally, I believe that peer-to-peer Bitcoin is one of the most important things in the world. So let me start asking to you, Anna, what is this peer-to-peer stuff in Bitcoin?
So, as Bitcoin white paper says, Bitcoin was built as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, and it's important to understand that in order to own or transact Bitcoin, one doesn't need anyone. And introducing some other parties to that equation actually adds an extra security breach. And in order to transact Bitcoin, we can do it like me and you. We don't need anyone, and third parties are security holes, and it's an important lesson to learn that, and it's important to understand how Bitcoin actually operates.
And it does say cypherpunks. Matyas, could you explain for the audience what is this cypherpunk stuff?
Well, cypherpunks are the movement which start to happening somewhere in 70s, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very old movement, and those were people who were really the visionaries, who put the very basic foundations for Bitcoin. It was an e-cash, it was another technologies which were necessary because those people already saw that we are losing privacy on the internet and that the whole internet is centralizing. So there were important people like Adam Back, back days, Hal Finney, Nick Szabo, and I really believe that technology leads the way and the other follows, politics follows. So cypherpunks write the code. They did a lot for us to now enjoy this technology called Bitcoin. And I encourage everyone to really study the cypherpunk history because the values which are there are very important for this time.
Eduardo, is there any correlation between peer-to-peer and cypherpunk?
For sure. When the cypherpunks saw that the financial system was completely centralized, and then even if you can't have any kind of free speech online, but they could control your financial movements, you do not have free speech at all, because if they can block your account, you have to obey, you have to comply. So there is this whole cypherpunk movement was how can we make a thing that is uncensorable, and the only the way that we can do that is trying to decentralize as much as we can. So P2P and cypherpunks are completely related. It's like it's a common move.
I have a very good question. The gold, talking about money, gold has been seized since so many years. Alexander Livia, Caesar, Kant, Charles I, the Prussians, Nixon, Roosevelt, we remember Roosevelt, and a lot of people, Churchill. I believe there is a non-zero possibility that this is going to happen again with Bitcoin. What is your opinion about that?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. There is a big chance that it might happen with Bitcoin, and that's why peer-to-peer is very, very important. And I believe that it's about education, that everyone starts and go, like we like to say, deep into the rabbit hole, educate about Bitcoin, buy some maybe shitcoins, then come back to Bitcoin again. And then it's like a point where you are buying Bitcoin on exchanges, and you are buying different Bitcoin than the peer-to-peer Bitcoin without KYC. And so, to answer your question and maybe to put the solution on the table, I really believe that coming back to the roots and using Bitcoin as it was intended is the way how to defend against this centralization and capturing Bitcoin. Because if it's distributed the right way, and it doesn't need to be 50-50, I think even if it's distributed like 30 to 70 in favor of banks, if 30 people holds Bitcoin the right way, it's enough to stay safe and mitigate these centralization risks.
Sure, I would like to add, I think Matyas brought a very strong point here regarding centralized exchanges. On my personal experience, I've helped build centralized exchanges, and I was wrong. I did not see at the time, but now I see perfectly, that centralized exchanges put a target in every Bitcoiner. And if the world was made of good people, it was okay. But the people in power are not good people. They use that info to their benefit. So we need to think really hard how to come back to our roots, because if we do this, they will hunt every single Bitcoiner. It is the logical thing to do, because they're broke. They're going to do that. So I believe that it is the most important thing in Bitcoin right now. This decade, this next decade, is regarding, are we going to follow the institutional way? Oh, let's go, numbers go up and all that, or are we going to go back to privacy and what matters as the original values that Satoshi brought? So I think this is a decision that a lot of Bitcoiners need to make. I truly believe the cypherpunks values are very strong, especially in all the developers. But it is, in my opinion, we're going to see a possible fork war again regarding institutionalization of Bitcoin or free Bitcoin.
I think another important concept to understand here is the concept of self-custody, because peer-to-peer is obviously super important, but you have to understand that you can acquire Bitcoin peer-to-peer, but you can still let someone have the custody of your Bitcoin. For example, centralized exchanges like Binance, they also offer peer-to-peer services, but at the same time, you will still have your Bitcoin with Binance. And solutions like HODL, for example, provide you the non-custodial approach to that, because even when you buy Bitcoin with HODL, you will be holding the keys to your funds throughout the whole trade, and at the end of the trade, you will receive your Bitcoin straight to your wallet, meaning that you will never, at any point of the deal, you will never trust your money to anyone and trust your money. And it's important to always hold the keys to your Bitcoin and own it, because Bitcoin allows you to do that.
Talking about that, my last panel, these guys came to me and said, this is my wallet. It was like Binance, Coinbase, Bitso. And I was like, no. And they said, yes, it's my wallet because it works like my wallet. So I have this question for you. How can we explain, because I believe this is a little difficult. I try to explain that is not a wallet. How can we achieve this fighting against the exchange and trying to explain the self-custody? It's very difficult. How would you do that?
Well, it's hard to explain. I believe that the best teacher is experience. If you lose money with exchange, that teaches you a lot. But yeah, self-custody is very important, and it's easy. If once you get it, you cannot undo it. But there are certain barriers, and especially here in Brasilia, you cannot get some of these devices easily. So you have to go even more deep and do it yourself, and that's even bigger barrier to self-custody. So where I come from Czech Republic, we have a very easy way how to get Trezor, and everyone is actually educated enough to use the self-custody. It's a long way, it takes time, and it needs to be done step by step. So you are not going to self-custody if you own only $20 of Bitcoin. Once you cross certain threshold, let's say $100 or $1,000 of Bitcoin, you should start thinking about self-custody, and the self-custody itself, it's a scale. So you can start with a single sig, and then again you crossing some threshold and you going for a multi-sig.
Okay. When I started, there was this exchange, First Liberty Standard. So I believe it was a very cypherpunk stuff, people buying to another people, but everything was through PayPal. So I believe that nowadays we are in a better position with HODL, RoboSats, BISC. Do you believe where is this trend going? Are we the same? Are we going better for the peer-to-peer cypherpunk Bitcoin, or are we going worse with this? Everybody talking about Coinbase and Binance.
Well, I can take that one. From my perspective, in Czech, we are going the right way. I have an observation that in Europe, people really care about the other features of Bitcoin, and they are not there only because of the price ticker. They are aware of the risks for the future and trying to use Bitcoin as it was intended, peer-to-peer, without intermediaries. In Czech, we have a huge network of people who are just exchanging Bitcoin for cash with for example, tools like a Vexel, which is a network which kind of shows you people who are in your environment, in your neighborhood, and you share your contact list, so you see that maybe you don't know that person, but you have a common friend. So you ask the friend, who is this guy, and they tell you, yeah, it's a fair guy. So you meet in the restaurant and you exchange Bitcoin for cash. This is very easy, and it's very nice because you actually meet another Bitcoiner. You talk about Bitcoin for, let's say, 20, 30 minutes before the transaction is confirmed, and you say goodbye, you shake a hand. So in Czech, it's going the right direction, and I really think that the whole world will follow. It's just about the time and in which bubble you are, because there are some kind of pockets of more educated people around the world, and some places are just not there yet because the use cases are different, and the phase of the evolution is just not that high.
I would agree with Matyas. I think we're going the right way, and that's why probably we're doing that educational stuff that we're doing, organizing the conferences. And right now, obviously, decentralized exchanges are more a niche product. But we're going there, we're making mistakes, like people are learning, unfortunately the hard way, but eventually we see the customers base growing. Even like me as a person coming from HODL, I see like with years how trends are going up, and I'm really happy about that, and I see that the work that we're doing with educating people is actually taking us somewhere.
I will disagree a little bit with my partners here. I do not see the market going the right way. I'm a little bit more pessimistic. And unfortunately, I think we are losing this fight at this moment. We need to keep fighting. Here in Brazil, cash is being hunted. If you need cash here in Brazil, it is the P2P operators that works here in this market knows it is becoming kind of toxic to get cash. It is harder and harder. Your manager here, if you go there to the bank account, and that's why you're not the owner of your money in a bank account, and I keep telling this, because if the manager decides if you can withdraw some cash or not, it's not your property. So here it is very complicated to withdraw cash from a bank account. Like you need to tell what you're gonna do with the cash. Man, it's my money. Why you care what I'm gonna do? So I think maybe there are pockets of freedom in some parts of the world, but countries like Brazil, I'm really worried about our freedom. I'm really worried. The CBDCs are coming. Cash is going to be rare, and there's a lot of cash in the economy right now, and it's going to be even harder to get this cash to Bitcoin as time goes by. And we saw that example in India some time ago. So I'm pessimistic on this. I think we should try to resist and keep the good fight, but we need to be. I'm a little bit realistic that we are fighting very strong opponents on that side. And unfortunately, in the Bitcoin space, I think there is more money and more resources being enabled to number go up things than privacy things. I think we should keep trying to educate even our space too. We should keep developing, because it's going to happen the same thing that happened with gold, in my opinion, if we do not do that. Like, most of the people who are gold bugs do not own gold. Actually happened here recently in our community here in Brazil. Some guy said, I have this amount of gold I want to sell, and he was not able because he had the physical gold and he could not sell it. It's like, it was hard to sell. So, and that happens, and I think that's going to keep happening. Gold lost this fight because because of the custody stuff. And your point, and it's perfect, like on this, because if people do not do self-custody, it's going to happen the same thing that happened with gold, in my opinion. It's only a matter of time. So we need to keep improving self-custody, and we need to keep trying to bring these privacy values and cypherpunk values, because if we do not, they are going to do. I'm a pessimist that they could try to capture Bitcoin the same way they did gold. So it depends on us. It depends on the market, in my opinion. But I may be a little pessimistic, as I said.
After hearing your centralized exchange story, I believe your stories are more interesting than my question. So I want to ask, why are you sitting here today in this peer-to-peer cypherpunk in the middle of Brazil? What are you here? What is your story?
Well, I was invited by Lucas.
Okay, next question.
And it's really cold in Czech Republic, so it was not a difficult decision to come here. And I really like to see other communities. I like to talk to people at this place. Verify, like we have to say, don't trust, verify. So every community, every person has a different use cases for Bitcoin, and it's very important to make friends in other countries. When shit happens, you can ask the person. Once you meet them in the real world, then you can ask them online, and you know you can trust them. So it's important to travel, meet other Bitcoiners, make relationships. So you have intelligence spread it around the globe, and you know what is happening.
For me, Bitcoin has become my passion over the years, and it's a tool for freedom, and I want to travel the world and educate people about those cypherpunk values, about peer-to-peer and self-custody, of how it's important. And the job that we're doing with Hodl Hodl, we have a huge market in here in Brazil because we provide services for people who might not be able in some cases to use other alternative services, people who are excluded from traditional financial system, for example, people who can't just go and create an account on centralized exchanges because like not everyone has a government issued ID, or not everyone is just able to comply with all that regulatory bullshit. And we're here with Hodl Hodl. We are allowing people to buy, sell Bitcoin, to transact without asking for any personal information, and yeah, we're providing that service, and we're happy to be here, present in person.
I think Bitcoin is like, it changes your mindset completely from when you get out of the fiat-minded mindset. So Bitcoin for me was we're changing, and I came to Bitcoin because of libertarianism. I was originally a libertarian, and then I started to read about Bitcoin. I came to this way. So this value of freedom was very strong for me since the beginning. And I realized as I worked in this market that we need to change the ways we're doing things. And it's an honor to be with people who are making it happen here, because I know it is the good fight. We are fighting the good fight in my point of view. But it is, for me, Bitcoin is the only chance we have for freedom. I do not see any change on the ways that things are being built. So we need to make that, but it depends on people, right? It's not, for me, it's not something that, it's guaranteed that will happen. Like, it depends on people making it happen. So these cypherpunk values need to be restored, and we need to keep trying to have them as our goal, our target all the time.
So
Did I answer the question?
yeah, better than my friend Matyas. Yeah. I have a story, but there's supposed to be Javier Bastardo here. I have a story, but I'm not in the panel, so it's 10-second story. I'm supposed to be in another place, but they say, hey, do you want to talk about Bitcoin? I always say yes. And I say, I'm not the best in English. I am not the best in any language, but not in English. So I say yes, and I'm super grateful to be here today with you guys. Let me try to convince if there's anybody that says, yeah, I'm going to keep with my Coinbase or Binance account. So, like a conclusion, how can we tell these guys know your customer self-custody via cypherpunks peer-to-peer in more easier ways or words than myself?
Well, I would start with the non-KYC thing. There are so many good reasons. First, if you buy non-KYC Bitcoin without exchange, then you don't have to tax that. No one knows about it. So it's up to you if you actually make the action and you say that you have the Bitcoin. That's the first thing. The second thing is that because you don't give your KYC or you don't give your ID, no one else know that you have Bitcoin, and that's the thread what Anna was talking about. Then you are not on the list. Let's say the Coinbase will leak the database, and every hacker in the world can just buy this database, and they will know your address, and they will know how much Bitcoin you bought past 5 years. That's horrible, you know. That's almost as wrong as the bankers nowadays. They also know how much money you have and for what you spend it. So I feel like these two arguments are like really basics. It's very safe to not give your personal identification and just like keep your finances behind the curtain. It's a privacy. And also, if you hold Bitcoin on exchange, you are not using it. You are not using all the features, and you are paying the same price. You know, because there is the middleman. So, it's like you have a worse Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is not that good, but you are paying the same price for it. It should be more cheaper if you're buying Bitcoin on exchanges.
I'm not going to give any tax avoidance advices, as my friend
Yeah, there was
Matyas
no
said.
advice. Yeah, just to clarify. It's just like, you know,
I'll
it's
restrain
possible.
from any financial advices, but what I wanted to say is that, again, Bitcoin is one of the few assets these days that could actually be owned by you, and we have to use it for all it takes. And I think a good analogy in here would be storing Bitcoin on a centralized exchange would be like having money in your bank account, and actually, like, do you actually own that money? The answer is no. And compare self-custody to having like physical gold. And
then Michael Saylor comes and says, "Oh, you have to leave your bitcoins with them, because if you don't, the government is gonna try to get your bitcoins every time more." So I think he's actually toxic for us. Like, he was a big guy, but now I'm kind of against him. And every day he's buying more and more bitcoins, so it's a problem. Like, in the future, I'm gonna have to trust his company to leave my bitcoin. I don't want that.
Everyone can buy the Bitcoin.
Yeah, but he keeps buying more and more. In the end, we are gonna have to kind of trust those big companies to leave our bitcoins from them. If you wanna hold it.
Yeah, he's telling about Michael Saylor.
If you sell yours, you're never gonna be able to buy it again. That's what I'm trying to say.
There's two sides of that coin. Michael Saylor, if he wasn't going to buy, somebody was going to buy big. He was like cypherpunks and stuff. And now he's saying, please keep your money in the exchange, everything is okay, governments are good. But there's another kind of coin, that is bad, but there is another coin, is like, people doesn't know he was called by the fiscal, how do you say, Doge, the Department of Justice, and saying, yeah, you say, fuck the taxes, I lost the private key in a boat accident, so we have to talk. So he changed the subject a little bit and started to be nicer, because he has like $10 billion put in there. So that's bad, everything is bad, and so kill your heroes, that's all I have to say.
What's her name? Rafael. You're right. I think this is the fork that we're going to see. Institutional money against cypherpunk Bitcoin. I think this is going to happen. It's only a matter of time. But my point regarding Matyas brought, I think, the most key parts. All governments in the Western world are broke because of welfare state. It's only a matter of time. People are getting older and the system is going to get broke. That's a mathematical thing. Okay? If you have a welfare system, it's going to be broke. So they're going to take money from everywhere they can before they go down. That's how it works. So there is one thing that's being discussed in Denmark right now called unrealized capital gains. So what do you think that's going to happen when they see the Bitcoin going 120, 1,000%? Do you think they're going to just let you be rich? We say in Portuguese, contraventor, right? Let's say you're not seen as a good guy for the government. So they're going to say, I will tax you, even though you did not sell your Bitcoin. And Coinbase, Binance, and every centralized exchange gave them the info they need. That's the point. They gave exactly what they need. This guy bought Bitcoin at this date, at this value. And they say, oh, it valued 100%. Please give me my money. Oh, but I did not sell. It doesn't matter, man. You're going to give my money anyway. That's happening. It's only a matter of time, right? So in my opinion, it's only a matter of time. So, and there's the first thing that I think it's absurd, but I think it's going to happen. And the second thing is operational security. As Matyas brought the point here, if you're a bad guy, do you want to go to the guy that has $1 million and 1 million reais, 1 million whatever in real estate or Bitcoin? If this info is going to get leaked, do you trust the government with info? Oh, I will make the very good question. Who pays if the government info is leaked? If nobody pays any kind of punishment for that, it's going to get leaked, man. It's a matter of time. So when you go to the exchange and buy a Bitcoin there, no. The worst people in your country will know you have that Bitcoin and you bought at that date. So sleep with that and then consider again if you should do that. That's the only thing. I'm sorry, I was in centralized exchange, but I need to unbuild centralized exchange because you created a monster for the government. I'm sorry for that, but that's the truth.
I think the great advantage of the exchange, they simulate a normal banking system for the friction to adopters of P2P. So I think the great challenge to P2P is about the less friction to do that, because the normal people cannot do P2P today, and the exchanges bring this like similar our bank system. So
it is easier.
It's good for now. It's good for now. We are in this phase where it's needed, of course. Yeah, the centralized exchanges are here for the market. But the point we are trying to make it here is that once you are in the evolution of being Bitcoiner, that you can do peer-to-peer, you should.
Anna has something to say about that.
Yeah, we're not saying that all centralized exchanges are evil or something like that, but the point here is probably that once you're in that Bitcoin rabbit hole, just dig deeper, just educate yourself, never stop educating yourself and try to improve your setup, go to self-custody, go to peer-to-peer, discover better ways of actually using all the benefits of that perfect money that we have.
I believe I couldn't say it better. That is the conclusion. Incredible. And please put your hands together to these beautiful people.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.